I cannot imagine people in USA all very friendly, but this lady especially, her name is Caroline Adams Miller, and she is specialist on positive thinking, positive psychology, and on grit. This word greed, maybe, not all of us know how to translate it correctly, but it's a very powerful word. Caroline, hello, we are happy to see you. We are happy to see your beautiful smile.
Thank you. It's nice to have, and you know what, a lot of Americans are friendly.
And this is amazing. We will be diplomatic and we will put Russia and America together. And, Putin and Biden were trying to do that, and it's good that they start doing that.
Yes.
So maybe we can do even better, because women can thrive and can go. And you wrote a book, Thriving Women, Thriving World. Dear Caroline, you're a specialist on greed. For 30 years, you're working on how to put goals and how to achieve goals. Mm-hmm. Now the time is completely different. All the goals are running away. Some people become stronger, bigger. Some people getting bankrupt. And those people who getting stronger, recently I met a lot of people who really earning money like crazy right now. They're saying because all others leaving the markets, we are like wolves. We are chasing, we are chasing other animals. What you will recommend to people who are not sure of themselves at that moment? How to put these goals, settings, and stay positive?
So many questions. Good questions. I think one of the first things I'm going to say is that there is some fairly unique research that I uncovered and learned about when I went back to school in 2005 that does answer half of this question. And that is that all success in life is preceded by emotional flourishing, which means in order to be successful, it's not about chasing success in order to be happy. The first thing you have to pay attention to is, how happy are you? What do you do to up your emotional well-being on a day-to-day basis so you are prepared to have the behaviors and the mindset that then bring about success? And then you add to that the science of goal setting. But you first start with emotional flourishing. Maybe I should just stop there.
Caroline, you mean that, for example, if you see some business person and he's very happy with what he's doing, and if you start repeating what he is doing and you feel very unhappy, that means that business is not for you. That means maybe you're a writer. How to make sure, are you happy with what you're doing or not?
Well, everyone's a little bit different. So what makes me happy may not make you happy, but it's about who are you inside of yourself? Are you attending to your top values in life? May they be kindness or love of learning or personal courage. But some of the ways in which we see the world mean that we have to address those values before we can actually prepare ourselves for success. So someone else may be happy with the work they do and how they do it. And maybe it's ethical, maybe it's unethical. I don't think we can always draw those conclusions from what we see, but it's really all about how are we showing up in the world? Are we attending to our values? Are we pursuing the goals that we have for ourselves that light us up? That's at the heart of this quality of grit, which is passion and perseverance in pursuit of long-term goals. You can only pursue goals for a long period of time if they're yours. Not your parents, not your spouses, not your communities, if they're yours. And so part of that is, who really are you and what is it you want to leave behind as your legacy in life? And if you don't know that, that's probably another place to start on top of, are you happy? Because they do go hand in hand.
Maybe this interview will break the life of many people because, for example, they're working now as a barista, or they're working as a business person, or they're, working as a librarian. But now they will say, oh my God, I'm just pursuing the dream of my mom. It's not what I'm going to do. How to, let's say, take a paper and write, is it your goal or not? Okay, maybe you're 40 years old, it's already late, but still it's better than 80 years old. Can you give some advice, please?
I can. 40 is not late. Let me just start with that. And I think people come to a moment in life, and for many women, it's around 45, 47. It's called the midlife review, where they do ask themselves, have I pursued the path that I wanted? And is this all there is? And do I have any regrets? Because regrets actually spark us to look at, well, what else that I long to do? What are the risks I want to take? So that I've turned over every stone in life to find out what I'm made of, who my friends are. What do I long to see if I'm capable of doing that thing? So there is a well-known writing exercise, Best Possible Future Self. And it's by a researcher named Laura King at the University of Missouri, a brilliant, brilliant woman who's done a lot of positive psychology and psychology research. And a lot of people never take the time to actually do an exercise like this. So they never actually find out who their ideal self is. And far too many women are actually waking up and doing two other selves, either their actual self, the self they wake up every day and perform and maybe just do the things that you left undone yesterday, so you're reactive to life and you don't really have a dream, or your ought self, the person you think you should be. Your culture wants you to be that way, your religion, your family, your parents, your spouse, whatever it is. Your ideal self is the person you long to be. If you could get in a time travel elevator and go forward 5 to 10 years and it opened up into the scene that you most want to live in and work in, you've got to be able to describe that, because you cannot hit a target you can't see. So that's a good writing exercise to start with.
Good writing exercise to start with. You said that you need to write all of that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you need to write who is real you, who is not you whom you're trying to present for your spouse or for your mom, but who is real you. You recommend like how to describe that. If I want to write that, how can I write that?
Well, I'll just say that on my website, there's some free worksheets that actually walk you through this. So if somebody doesn't understand what I'm saying now, my website is just my name, CarolineMiller.com. Get some free worksheets. This is one of them. Best Possible Future Self. So here's how it goes. This is just one of several ways to do it. Imagine your life in 10 years as if everything has gone as well as possible, and you're living the life of your dreams. You're doing what you long to do. You're surrounded by the people who make you feel like your best self, who fill you with motivation and inspiration. You're giving to the people you want to give to, and you've taken the risks that have paid off in life. What does that life look like? And you imagine there's no barrier to those goals being accomplished. It's called blue sky thinking. But I also like the question, what is the dream? You know, there's some really great research on what happens when you just say, what is your dream? Because your dream isn't just about one thing or you. Your dream is about a vision of several things, where you are, who you're with. Companies also do this exercise. What is the dream? Not what's the goal, but what's the dream? So either what's the dream, describe it in detail, best possible future self, who am I in 10 years if everything goes as well as possible? And if I have three selves, my actual self, my ought self, and my ideal self, who are those three different people and which life am I living?
These three people that you mentioned, should they be look alike, or they can be completely different?
Well, that's a great question. I've never been asked that. I think for some people, if they wake up and their actual self is actually their ideal self, then that's two people who are living the same life. And many people are living that. They've decided to take risks, to see what they're made of. Watching the Olympic trials in this country right now, so we all know the Olympics are in Tokyo, God willing, in about 5 weeks. But the people who are pursuing their dreams of athletic prowess, to see what they can do with their bodies, they're waking up every day. Their actual self actually is their ideal self. They're finding out what they're made of. They're deciding to risk it all to see if their dreams can come true. So in that case, that's one and the same. It might also be, your ought self. So that could be what other people around you want for you. Isn't that an ideal world where your ideal self, your ought self, and your actual self are the same three people you wake up with? I mean, that to me would be the dream.
Definitely it's a dream, because maybe one, you're a sportsman, and another thing, you are an actress, and another dream, maybe you're working in the circus, and it's completely three different people, and you're riding a horse. That will be great if we can put this together. Okay, my question to you is, tell me please, you are the author of the word that is called the authentic effect, and can you explain what does it mean?
So, in my research on first, how do you accomplish goals with a scientific basis to the pursuit of those goals? That was my book, Creating Your Best Life. And when writing that, Angela Duckworth's book was actually being researched and written. And I know Angela well, and she's an amazing woman and a great researcher. And her work on grit really does pertain to goal setting, because the happiest people wake up every day to hard goals, not easy goals. And so I then wrote Getting Grit, about how to get the quality of grit. But in the process of taking those two steps, those two books about goal setting and grit, what I realized is that grit is really only good when, in the process of pursuing those hard goals, you are awing and inspiring other people to ask themselves, what if I lived that way? What if I lived with the kind of risk taking that makes me find out who I am, what I'm made of, where do I want to go in life, what do I want to leave behind as my legacy? So if it's just about being gritty and pursuing your own goals, I don't think that's the highest and best use of grit. So this made up word, authentic, AWE, then authentic, THENTIC, authentic. To me, it means that when somebody sees another person, and I'll just go back to the Olympic trials, watching dreams being realized, it gives you goosebumps, and you're awed and inspired to ask yourself silently, wow, what if I pushed a little bit harder? What if I started my own podcast instead of listening to everyone else's podcast? What if I actually wrote a book instead of thinking about it? You want to be awed and inspired by the excellence displayed by other people who aren't looking for a trophy. They're not looking to be recognized. They're doing it because it lights them up. That's the best use of grit, because it awes and inspires you, i.e. the authentic effect.
This is a very, very positive thing, and this is the thing you're talking about, Caroline. It definitely gives power, and after listening to that, you become stronger. And I really appreciate it, because we want nowadays to make people stronger, to make them not being afraid, to make them continue living, to make them fly, to make them carry their wings, to make them go to the wind, to make them look at the sky. How you eliminate this fear in you?
Such a good question. I've spent the last few years thinking a lot about the question of how can women do a better job of inspiring and uplifting each other, because I think this is one of the things that you don't always see for a lot of reasons, cultural reasons, where we're not expected to support other women necessarily, meaning their individual goals, not collective goals like the right to vote or reproductive rights. But you don't always see women supporting each other because of these cultural biases about there's only one seat at the table, or mean girls, or whatever it is. And I think one of the things I've done, and that I encourage other women to do and people to do, is surround themselves with people who believe in you, who have your back. And my next book is actually about how to create a mastermind group. Women in particular, a small, carefully formed group of people who, when you articulate your dreams and goals, their first reaction is, wow, tell me about that. That's really exciting. Instead of, why would you want to do that? Or that's going to be so hard. We know from this research by a woman named Shelley Gable at the University of California, Santa Barbara, that when you respond with curiosity and enthusiasm, it's called active constructive responding. And that is the absolute best way to make somebody else believe in themselves, and then give them the rocket fuel to propel them forward. So when you surround yourself with people like that, and you prune out the downers, the depressives, the doubters, you really begin to have a much better petri dish within which to grow your dreams.
Caroline, are you giving, like for people, especially for women who need support, who wants your advice, are you giving your personal consultations, or you forming groups? How are you working with that?
I do a number of different things. I do in-person retreats. I have a new beach house in Delaware on the East Coast of the United States, where I'll be doing that starting in the fall. But I'm an executive coach to both men and women about how to accomplish their goals, their organization's goals, their own personal goals. I do some coaching of people individually. I'm not inexpensive for someone at my level. I can't be afforded by everybody, but that's why I write books, or do one session of 2 hours so somebody can get a taste of it. And so there's a variety of ways I reach people. But for people who don't have the money, to invest in themselves, I say form a group, a free group of people who believe in you and who want more in their lives and who are tired of playing small and who want to find out what they're made of and who want to share and pool their knowledge, their resources to help each other accomplish their goals. I say start there. You know, it's free. It's up to you to make it happen.
I received a lot of questions from people who are saying, especially women, we are starting to reach very big goals. It's like vice presidents of big corporations or, something happening. And then they say we're afraid because we're afraid to be stronger than our husbands. We're afraid to be extraordinary. We're afraid to be splendid, like you become too much of everything and not to be that noticeable. They prefer to be small. How to deal with that? Have you ever heard? Do you understand what I'm talking about, Caroline?
I see it all the time. And I think it has, again, some of the roots that I'm describing. I've spent 4 years really looking at all the research on this. I don't really think there's an imposter syndrome. I don't think women lack confidence. I think what it is women don't know who has their back. And we know from some fascinating research that the first people who take down women who are proud or who have succeeded, or even who just have their resume read at the start of a talk they're giving, the number one detractor of those women are other women. And so I think it's really, really important to have your own board of directors and to know who has your back, because it's not an issue of confidence. Women have confidence. The problem is they don't know who's going to take them down when they do succeed. And that's a really deep problem that we have to talk about. And I'm not letting men off the hook here. I'm not, this Time's Up, Me Too, that was so overdue. And there's so many cases in this country, all over the world, really, that is, it's still a big problem with men sexually harassing women, demanding favors for promotions, that kind of thing. At the same time, we also have to look at how do women uplift and support each other and share things like what they're making. What do they make per speech? How much, what is the margin on the goods they sell? If we're not sharing economic and financial information with each other, how do we know what we're worth? I find that women are extremely secretive and afraid to share some of that information. And I know it happens in positive ways, but I'm saying this is what I keep finding is more pockets of women burning out in silos by themselves than coming together to uplift and support each other.
But you mentioned a lot in this talk, money and financial things for women. And really for women, what I noticed, they're even afraid to say, well, as you say now, yes, I help people, but I'm quite expensive. If you don't have money, go and buy my book or form the group. Or if you can invest in yourself and you can afford me, come to me, I will help you to reach your goal. Because I devoted 30 years of my life on researches. It's not from the skies. I studied it.
Exactly.
So this is what you said. So the thing why women are afraid to talk about money and to ask money for their work, and what is that? You recommend to articulate what you want, or how to overcome this fear of getting money or even asking money?
I think we just have to go out there and know what we're worth and ask for it and assume that not everyone can afford us. But if you have invested, I have decades of time and energy and education in becoming who I am and knowing what I know. I think one of the things that really holds women back also is this idea that women need to be nice all the time and that we need to give away our time. And so Adam Grant, who wrote the book Give and Take and other books that are out there, he has another one out there. He wrote this book about how there are three kinds of givers in the world. There's givers, there's takers, and there's matchers. And he said, boy, if you want to be successful in life, you need to be a giver without strings, and someone who recognizes when takers are taking too much from you, because you can be a giver who gives and gives and gives to your detriment, and you end up at the bottom of the success ladder. I talked to him about the fact that there's research missing from that book on the fact that women do give and are expected to give, but they don't get the same benefits that men do. So when men give, they're seen as these magnanimous, wonderful people, and they do get the benefits in the workplace and in life of giving. If they do a little bit of parenting or a little bit of cooking or a little bit of childcare or a little bit of staying late, it's like, oh my God, what an amazing human being. And then if they're asked to give and they choose not to, they don't get a social penalty. They aren't penalized for being not nice. And so women just give and give and give and give and give. And we don't say no because we're afraid of being seen as not nice. And so recently, I mean, during COVID, one of the things that I did, and many people in my shoes with positive psychology did, is we were asked to give free webinars to help people, help the world with the tools that we're so fortunate to have. And like many others, I said yes. But what I found is that it reduced my value in the marketplace because companies were saying, if I can get it for free, why would I pay for it? But women were asked and asked and asked and asked more than men to give, and did not get the same benefits men did. And that's a problem in the world. And that's why women don't always get what they deserve or even ask for what they deserve, because it'll be seen as not nice and you'll get penalized down the road for being that pushy broad.
You raise a very important topic that instead of being nice to everybody, instead of being afraid to say no, instead of not asking what you deserve and what you, let's say you devoted 30 years of your life in researches about what is greed, what is positive psychology, how to reach your goals. Yeah. The experience not only for person, but also for big organizations, for big company. Of course, you should be paid for that. You cannot do it free of charge unless you are Melinda Gates, or you can do some charity work and, you can afford. You have 15 million on your bank account and you don't care. So you can, yeah. So it will be fair to ask about that and to tell about that and to manifest your price. And it's about Absolutely. Manifestation, yeah. It's about manifestation of everything.
Yeah, and I think we have to recognize that as women, we often hold women to these unrealistic standards of being just generous givers. We just keep giving to our children, giving to their schools, giving to nonprofit boards. I coach a lot of executive women. One of their top goals is always to be on a paying board because they're sick to death of being on nothing but nonprofit boards. Not that those don't matter, but they've done their time. And they deserve to be elevated to these boards where they do get paid for their time and their experience. So I really, I have one anecdote that I like to tell about, I'm going to say 7-8 years ago, I was asked to speak to 750 women. Somewhere in the United States is all I'm going to say. And it was their annual meeting, and I was the afternoon speaker, and the morning speaker was a man who had written one book, and it was on influence and persuasion. And they called and said, could you be our afternoon keynote? We have so-and-so for the morning. What is your price? And I said, well, how many hours is he speaking? Well, he's speaking for 2 and you're going to speak for 3. And I said, well, at least pay me what you're paying him, right? And this woman got very quiet and she said, oh, but that's fill in the blank. And I said, how many books does he have out? How many books has he sold? 1. How many do I have out? 5. Pay me what you're paying him. Call me back when you're ready to do that. And I hung up and my hand was shaking. My hand was shaking. And I called my coach and I said, I think I just blew the biggest speaking gig I've ever been offered. And I said, but it was a woman saying to me, times are hard. We can't pay you what we're paying so-and-so. And we find over and over that women penalize women who put a value on what they're worth. Not men, women. Let's take a look at that.
It's a very good thing, and I think there should be some women organizations or women groups and women communities that can really support each other, help each other, mentor each other and earn money together. Not everything free and non-profit, because women also need to eat and to go to the beauty salon and to live.
Right.
And this is quite normal. They're not aliens who are coming, from other planet, Mars. Maybe soon when we can go to Mars, we can do like that.
Right.
Definitely. What is your biggest, my last question to you, Caroline, what is your biggest mistake in life that you did? And what is your biggest achievement?
What a great question. My biggest mistake was I don't think I believed in what I was able to accomplish in the world of positive psychology until I sat back and realized that my book, Creating Your Best Life, which came out in 2008, is still ranked the #1 book in goal setting because it was the first evidence-based book. And I think I watched other books that were not evidence-based kind of race by mine. And I thought, gosh, what is it about me as a woman, as an expert in goal setting? Gosh, well, I guess it's not my due. Then I saw it was ranked #1 again last year. And I said, damn it, it's my turn to be a little bit more vocal about asking for what I'm worth and stating what I've done well. So I think I waited too long and I was too nice. So I've gotten more vocal. Not everyone likes it, but hey, you know what? I only have this life. My proudest achievement is I think I've been a really, really good mother. And I think I've taught I've taught my children to believe in their dreams and goals. And my daughter, in particular, I have one daughter, 2 sons. My daughter's a public defender here in the United States, and it's a brutally difficult job. She does believe that everyone has the right to have some kind of defense in a system that can be very unjust. And watching her grit and her passion for doing something hard, I think partly has been influenced by watching the work I do. But I think my sons are also just magnificent human beings, giving back to the world in the way they can, and they haven't always chosen the easy path. And the things they've failed at have actually been the best things that ever happened to them, and they know it, and they've made meaning of those mistakes too. And I hope I have too.
Caroline, I want really to thank you very much. What you're doing is really amazing. You wrote such great books, you researched, you devoted 30 years for people being stronger, to have grit, to have desire to live, to reach their goals. You have 3 beautiful kids who are sure of themselves. And I think it's so important when people are sure of themselves, whatever body they have, whatever country they are born in, whatever amount of money they have, just to be sure of who they are and to have the voice. And you teach your kids to have the voice. And I think that is really a great achievement. And you are 59, but you look so beautiful, so shining, so, and you told me that you're doing swimming, you exercise a lot, your energy is very contagious, beautiful energy for people to cheer up. The last, give please recommendation to hidden heroes, at least 1-2 sentences, to people who are hidden. How to be unhidden, how to become heroes, not hidden.
Oh, it's such a big question. I want to make my 1 or 2 sentences right. To find a role model in your environment and have the courage to ask them to give you unvarnished feedback about how to become your best self, and then turn around and do it for somebody else. I overcame the eating disorder bulimia 40 years ago, and I was the first person to ever write a book about it and break the silence. And and that book, I think, saved lots and lots of lives. But what I learned in the course of overcoming my eating disorder is you can't keep what you don't give away. And it was great that I got better, but it only mattered if I turned around and pulled other people with me. Find somebody who can help pull you out of your dark place where you're hidden, and then turn around and pull somebody else out of where they're hidden. And make sure that the feedback you give people is accurate, honest feedback so that they will become their best selves. So that is my best advice.
Dear Caroline, thank you so much. It was big honor, big pleasure, and I'm sure we will meet again. I feel like that. And I'd be happy to be your friend and to support